Bible Treasures. Topic 14. Work.
Welcome to the Sound Doctrine telecast. Praise God for all the corrective teaching we receive through this series of talks. In churches and fellowships, we talk so much about spiritual activities. But seldom there is any reference made to our jobs or our work spot. The result is we at times become too heavenly minded to be of any earthly use. We all have heard about that great revivalist John Wesley. A very practical question was once put before him. That was after he preached on the second coming of Jesus Christ. The question was this: what would you do if Jesus were to come the next morning? And you know what was John Wesley's instant and immediate answer? I will finish mowing my lawn. Now that's the subject that we are dealing with at the moment. Last 2 weeks we have been studying the subject of work. And the topic that is before us is how not to work. So far we have done 2 lessons. Number 1, do not over-differentiate between the sacred and the secular. Last week we studied lesson number 2. Do not be satisfied with average performance. Today we will move on to lesson number 3. How not to work. Do not downplay the importance of planning. Do not downplay the importance of planning. We will begin by turning to a text which we have very often referred to. Turn with us to the book of Ecclesiastes and 10th chapter. Look at the 10th verse. If the axe is dull and one does not sharpen the edge, then he must use more strength, but wisdom brings success. Now, what is the wisdom that author of Proverbs is referring to here in this passage? He says you must do a lot of planning and preparation. He says, but wisdom brings success. In other words, we need to think a lot before and while doing anything. Of course, the intelligence level varies from individual to individual. But thinking before doing anything actually gives us 2 benefits. Number 1, it helps us to do that particular work better. Number 2, it prevents us from making any blunder. When you think and plan well before doing anything, that helps us in doing things much better. It also prevents us from committing any blunder. In other words, time spent in planning will be saved while working. Turn with us for an illustration in Luke's Gospel, 14th chapter, where Jesus himself has given some examples. From verse 28, which of you intending to build a tower does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has got enough to finish it, lest after he has laid the foundation, he is not able to finish it, all who see it begin to mock him. Now what we want to emphasize here is, he must sit down first. In other words, he has to take sufficient time in planning the budget. And Jesus gave another example. What king going to make war against another king does not sit down first and consider whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20,000? Jesus gave two examples, one about building and the other about battling. In other words, whatever may be the type of work, the lesson that Jesus wants to present to all of us here is sit down first and plan and prepare well. This is what is explained or indicated as practical wisdom all through the book of Proverbs and also the book of Ecclesiastes. Turn with us to book of Proverbs, 4th chapter, to look at the sample words. Read to you the 7th verse. Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and in all you are getting, get understanding. So many things we may get, so many things we may gather, but you know what should be the crowning thing of all of them? It must be wisdom, because here we read that wisdom is the principal thing. With all you are getting, get understanding. Now we are going to explain to you how you can actually get this kind of wisdom. We want to present to you 3 simple steps for all of us to follow at any time. We get wisdom, first of all, by asking God, by prayer. Now, we all know that beautiful story of King Solomon. When you find time, you go through the 3rd chapter of 1 Kings. In a night, God appeared to Solomon in a dream. You know what he asked him? Look at the 5th verse. God said, ask, what shall I give you? And this man immediately, even in a dream, you know what he asked? Oh God, give me wisdom. He did not ask for wealth. He did not ask for victory in warfare. In the dream, in the split of a second, when God asked him what he wanted, he instantly said, I want wisdom, O God. And what do we read in the 10th verse? The speech or this request pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this thing. God loves anyone who asks for wisdom and discretion. He is always ready to just pour it upon them. Especially when we put our hands on any type of work, God is ready to grant us spot wisdom for that particular performance. Assurance is given to us in book of Proverbs, 16th chapter and 3rd verse. Commit your works to the Lord, that is your activities, your work, wherever, whichever you want to do. Commit your works to the Lord and your thoughts will be established. In other words, even while we are working, suddenly we get into some difficulty, we should instantly look up to God for His impartation of wisdom. God does grant us wisdom. That is a classic example in the life and ministry of Nehemiah. He was the cupbearer for King Artaxerxes. He was a personal assistant, so there was a very responsible position. And he one day was very sad when he was stretching forth the cup to the king. And immediately the king lovingly inquired what was wrong with him. And he told him that it is concerning the city of his fathers, which is broken down and burnt down. And immediately, you know what the king said in verse 4 of Nehemiah 2nd chapter? Then the king said to me, what do you request? In other words, he is standing before the king in the court. The king asked him, Nehemiah, what do you want? Before he answered the king, he said, did something. The 4th verse. I prayed to the God of heaven. In the 5th verse only, he started speaking to the king. In other words, he offered an instant telegraphic prayer unto God, and God also was pleased to give him an instant guidance as to what he should ask the king for. No other example could be greater and more beautiful than this, I suppose. Whether it is in the office or in the work spot or it is in the workshop or in your business center, whatever. When you are doing something, you need guidance, ask God instantly. God instantly would grant you whatever wisdom you need for that particular situation. And the second method or the second way how we can get this wisdom and understanding, by receiving advice from other people. We simply have too many exhortations for this particular counsel in the book of Proverbs. Proverbs 20th chapter and 18th verse. Every purpose or every plan is established by counsel. In other words, here what we read about purpose is actually planning. Come with us to the 24th chapter. Look at the 6th verse. By wise counsel you will wage your own war, and in a multitude of counselors there is safety, there is victory. Beloved, we must always realize one thing. No one knows everything. Everybody has got his or her own ignorance. So we must never hesitate to seek the advice of other people, especially if the work is great or the magnitude of the situation is very intense and it is quite serious. Now sometimes, because we want to do something in a hurry or with a sense of urgency, we think no planning is necessary, we'll just dash into it. And usually we'll end up messing up the whole situation. We are warned against it in book of Proverbs 21st chapter and 5th verse. Plans of the diligent lead surely to plenty, but those of everyone who is hasty, he will surely be led to poverty. Especially those of you youngsters who are listening to this telecast, watching this telecast, please take this advice. Definitely, elders know much better than you. Several of you are at the beginning of your career, beginning of your life. Here is a practical piece of advice we want every young person to take note of. Turn with us to the book of Job, 8th chapter. Read from the 7th verse. Though your beginning was small, yet your latter end would increase abundantly. Most of us as young people who have just begun our life work, our career, so the beginning may be small, very insignificant. But God promises, though the beginning may be small, the end shall be glorious. But there is a condition. In order to have a glorious future, there is a condition you need to fulfill. Look at the 8th verse. Or inquire place of the former age, and consider the things discovered by their fathers. We are but of yesterday, and we know nothing, because our days on earth are a shadow. Will they not teach you and tell you and utter words from their hearts? In other words, when we go to elders and seniors for consultation and help concerning the work of our hands, they can speak from their heart, which means they will speak from their experience, actual experience. And the third method or the third way by which we can receive this understanding and wisdom, systematic Bible meditation. When the Bible meditation is regular in your life, that always keeps you afresh and alert in your mind. That is what we read in Psalm 1st chapter verses 2 and 3. What God promises concerning the man who meditates on his word day and night. Whatever his hands do, that shall prosper. You see, the Bible meditation has got lots of practical links to our actual work situation. Many scientists were men and women of the Bible. Even amidst their hectic scientific research, they took time for patient and unhurried meditation of the Bible. When the work is more, we normally get tensed up. At such times, we are not able to quietly and patiently and leisurely think about what we should do. That is why we tell you, prayer must be increased when work actually increases. We all know the story of Nehemiah. They were very active in their work of rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. Halfway through, the strength of the people was just dissipating. And there was still so much of rubbish to be cleared. And what did they do? They increased their prayer. Same example we see in the life of Jesus. His fame and name was spread all over the regions. Lots of people came to listen to him. And people were just thronging in multitudes. And what did he do? In Luke's Gospel, 5th chapter, we read, "But Jesus withdrew often to a place of solitude for prayer." Beloved, that is the purpose of Sabbath. You know, God has given a Sabbath in the Ten Commandments. What is the actual purpose of Sabbath? Today, maybe we don't have a ceremonial significance for Sabbath. But Sabbath has got a purpose that we should never miss out. Turn with us to the book of Exodus and look at the 31st chapter. And look at the 17th verse. This has to be stamped in our minds and hearts. The sign between me and the children of Israel forever, for in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth. On the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. So only when we take sufficient time to relax and rest, we will be able to recoup and be refreshed. When we talk about planning, we want to make another observation. Keep a small pocket notebook, and you can call the notebook as to-do notebook. Every morning you write down what all you are supposed to be doing that day. And at the end of the day, before retiring to bed, you just review that particular sheet. You'll be amazed. If you follow this practice, you'll save a lot of time and your productivity also will increase. How not to work. Do not despise or downplay the importance of planning. May the Lord make this lesson very practical and useful in your work situation. God bless you.